Just a couple of days ago, the Golden State Warriors faced a shocking and devastating blow. Jimmy Butler tore his ACL in his right knee. This injury immediately ruled him out for the rest of the 2025-2026 NBA season and poses serious questions about the Warriors' future. While Butler's presence was supposed to elevate Golden State into full contender territory, his absence now threatens their playoff chances, alters roster dynamics, and complicates the franchise's long-term trajectory. The injury occurred during a game against the Miami Heat when Butler landed awkwardly after a drive to the basket. Medical reports confirmed a torn ACL via MRI, requiring surgery and extensive rehab. ACL injuries typically require 9 to 12 months to fully recover, and by that time, Jimmy Butler will be 37 years old, and his age adds uncertainty to his timeline. Even if he fully recovers, regaining peak explosiveness will be a challenge. Prior to the injury, Butler was averaging roughly 20 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5 assists per game. He had quickly become a legitimate secondary star alongside Stephen Curry, providing both offensive versatility and defensive stability. His ability to create shots, defend multiple positions, and anchor the team in crunch time was pivotal for Golden State. The Warriors now lose not just a scorer, but a multi-dimensional player who balanced the roster and reduced the burden on Stephen Curry. The immediate impact was evident in the Warriors' first game without Butler, a bad game with the Toronto Raptors. The team lacked cohesion and offensive flow, exposing how central Jimmy Butler had become to their rotation. For a team already navigating injuries and lineup adjustments, losing a key wing like Butler is a monumental setback. Jimmy Butler's addition to Golden State was intended to address specific needs: secondary playmaking, perimeter defense, and veteran leadership. His impact was measurable. Butler's ability to create his own shot or facilitate for teammates made the Warriors' offense far less predictable. His pick-and-roll skills allowed Curry to operate more effectively. Butler could guard wings and even stretch to smaller power forwards, giving Steve Kerr flexibility in switching defensive schemes. On and off the court, Butler's experience and competitive intensity helped stabilize a team undergoing rotation experimentation with young players like Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski. Before the injury, Golden State had a 12-4 record in the 16 games Butler played, showing a clear correlation between his presence and team performance. His absence forces the team to rely more heavily on Curry, Draymond Green, and the bench unit, a formula that has historically proven insufficient in the high-powered Western Conference this year. The Warriors entered the season hovering around the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Without Butler, their chances of reaching the playoffs decrease significantly. Draymond Green and Al Horford are aging, and even small lapses in defensive rotations have greater consequences in the high-stakes Western Conference matchups. With Butler sidelined, young players like Jonathan Kuminga will see increased minutes, while other players such as Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody may be thrust into larger roles than expected. Steve Kerr will have to re-engineer offensive schemes, leaning more heavily on Curry's shooting and playmaking, and leaning on Green to manage floor spacing and defensive assignments. The bench will need to compensate for the scoring and playmaking void, which is easier said than done in a conference full of elite wings and perimeter scorers. Kerr's offensive system relies on spacing, ball movement, and versatility. Losing a player of Butler's caliber forces Kerr to adjust rotations mid-season while maintaining the team's offensive identity. The Warriors' depth may allow some adjustment, but the lack of reliable secondary scorers and creators will hamper the team in close playoff-level games. From a financial standpoint, Butler's $54 million contract for 2025-2026 puts Golden State in a tricky position. Trading an injured max contract player is difficult. Teams are wary on taking on long-term financial risks for a player with an uncertain recovery timeline. As a result, GM Mike Dunleavy has indicated that the Warriors do not envision trading Butler at the deadline, signaling a commitment to keeping him despite the injury. This situation also raises potential salary cap complications. While the players could theoretically use the disabled player exception to add depth, the options are limited and don't solve the underlying issues of missing a star wing. Golden State now faces a combination of lost production and reduced roster flexibility, which may influence both short-term and long-term strategy. The Warriors face 3 potential paths forward this season: patch it up and fight for the play-in tournament, relying on internal players stepping up like Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski, and others. The Warriors could maintain a competitive position in the play-in tournament. This path relies heavily on the development of younger players and health elsewhere on the roster. Number 2, midseason moves for depth. Exploring trades for wing or forward depth is an option, though Butler's injury limits leverage in negotiations. Golden State may prioritize players who can contribute immediately while maintaining defensive and offensive versatility. Number 3, a strategic pivot. Accepting a lower playoff seed or even missing the playoffs could allow the Warriors to accumulate assets for the future. This would involve planning around Curry's remaining peak years and setting up for a post-Butler competitive window. Each path comes with risks and rewards, and the franchise will need to make careful decisions that balance competitiveness with financial and roster constraints. Jimmy Butler's injury isn't just a single season issue. It impacts Golden State's trajectory for the next several years. Number 1, Steph Curry's championship window. Curry is still elite, but advancing in age. Butler's presence was supposed to extend Curry's window as a contender. Without Butler, Golden State may have fewer opportunities to compete at the highest level, while Curry remains pretty much in his prime. Number 2, their aging core. Draymond Green and Al Horford are both in the later stages of their careers. Maintaining a competitive roster around them requires balancing veteran experience with young talent development. Number 3, front office direction. GM Mike Dunleavy's loyalty to Butler signals a commitment to the current window, but it limits flexibility. The franchise may need to decide whether to double down on the current roster or pivot toward a younger rebuild. Number 4, missing the playoffs could improve draft positioning, potentially offsetting short-term losses with long-term gain. However, this would require accepting the reality of a weakened season and managing contracts strategically. Despite his age and the severity of the injury, Butler is known for his work ethic and dedication. A full recovery is possible, but at 36, there are no guarantees. His return next season would provide a major boost, but Golden State will need to carefully manage his minutes and role to maximize effectiveness. Jimmy Butler's torn ACL is a pivotal moment for the Golden State Warriors. The injury doesn't just affect this season, it may define the franchise's direction over the next several years. The team's playoff hopes have dimmed, rotations must be reworked, and financial flexibility is constrained. At the same time, opportunities exist for younger players to step up, for front office strategy to pivot, and for the Warriors to recalibrate their championship window. The key questions now are, will the Warriors fight through adversity and make a deep playoff run? Or will they pivot strategically, preserving assets while maintaining competitiveness around Curry's aging prime? The answer will shape the future of one of the NBA's most celebrated franchises. Golden State now faces the ultimate test, redefining its identity in the absence of a star who is supposed to extend their dynasty. How they respond will determine whether this season is remembered as a setback, a pivot point, or the start of something new. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one for some more NBA content.